I've been thinking about this, and I'm seeing what's coming in Claris and FileMaker. The agentic stuff is interesting. Um, from what I can see in the small demos I've seen, there's a lot of web viewer possibilities or a lot of web viewer talk, I guess, where your agentic coder will build an entire app for you that you can place into that will place itself into a web viewer and then it will go fetch the data. So that's promising. I mean, it completely destroys what I'm doing, but hey, that's whatever. I'm interested to see because you know the agentic coder will have all of the code, and the only way we can work with it in FileMaker right now is to have a single string of text that sits that the web viewer can read from wherever it's stored. Right now, I have it, of course, stored in here, but this single line of text or this single string of text, it's just a single string is the only way that a web viewer can work because of just how it was built. Whether we do substitution or whether we do maybe a hosted CD, a hosted URL somewhere, we still can only put a single line of text inside of the web viewer. Um, so the coder is going to have to do that. It's going to have to do that. But what the problem is with that is that this code is a lot harder to read. And I assume an agentic coder eventually will take all of its code and it will bundle it into this one file and make it impossible for humans to really look at it and understand it. I don't know what it's going to provide, if it's going to provide the actual, in our case, working with JavaScript, I don't know if it's going to provide the individual files or if it's just going to keep all that stuff hidden. So I think there's certainly a disadvantage because you can still get into the script workspace, even if an agentic coder has built you a dozen scripts, you can still get in there and you can work with them and change them. But without some way inside of the JavaScript space, the web viewer space, it's going to be a black box that you won't know anything about. So I just thought I'm going to talk to Wim about that and see if he knows. But I bring this up because right now we still have the best way to work with JavaScript and FileMaker. And in my opinion, it's an environment like this. I know Gabe, you have something that you use. Other people have different versions of this. But the point of this has always been to do the development in a proper code editor and to see it render in a web viewer and then to deploy it to the FileMaker app that you are working with. Gabe, you have something similar, correct?
Yeah, yeah, it's the same. It's just I just I put it in a insert text rather than in a FileMaker field base.
This is the best way to get to work with JavaScript and FileMaker. Even if I'm using my AI here, I can still use it here and then deploy it over to FileMaker, but I can still have the code separate so that I can look at it, I can learn from it, and I can iterate over it if I need to and change it using my human intelligence. So the development environment is the perfect vehicle for doing all of that stuff. We're using we're using some coding tools, some web developer tools to bundle it up. Um, this vite.config.js file is the engine, the configuration that runs the engine. And this one right here, this little line right here, this plugin on line 9, tells this engine to bundle all of the code up into a single file. Even if, let me show you, I'll show you an example here. Let's see, let's do a new window first. Even if, so I've got this quote wizard that I built for a client. Looking at the file structure, there are, I don't know, 2 dozen files. There's all of these components here that render certain things. Certainly, this is React. There's a button that's actually not used. There's button group. There's navigation items. All of this And then I've got a bunch of sections here that combine components into bigger sections, like a billing section, a consignee section, a customer section. And then I have a bunch of hooks, and then I have a bunch of JavaScript utility files that just help me. That one doesn't do anything, but this one converts a 24-hour time to 12 hours. I did use some AI to help me build this stuff, but within the context of this environment, when I deploy this to the FileMaker file, it bundles everything that in all of those files and all of those 26 some odd files into one string that can be easily put somewhere in FileMaker. A global variable, a text field, in the future, a data store. So that is the advantage, and I would love to see how complex, a coder can get and what it's going to do with all these. But again, I have it separated here, so I can look at just the consignee section and I can make some changes as I see fit, or I can ask the coder to look the engine to look at this, the agentic coder to look at this specifically and make some changes. So single file makes it work. I don't actually know what most of this does. I can't remember anymore. Inline dynamic imports. I guess I could ask the AI what this is all about, but it doesn't bother me. It's never been a problem.
Apparently, the single packaged HTML file has uses in like super like latency sensitive environments where everything is loaded in a single file, where you're not requesting a HTML file and then it's reaching off to grab some JavaScript and then grab some other bits and pieces. So apparently,
Okay.
there's other use cases for that.
In
I'm sure Vite didn't have that feature specifically for FileMaker, and
This is still the best place to do work with JavaScript and FileMaker, no matter what version you use. I can't think, I was playing with this over the week. I can't think of a better way to do this. I could create an HTML file from scratch. So if I were to do this, let's just do this again. We'll do new window, and I don't know, we'll create a new file and we'll save it as index.html. We'll put it in my documents folder. Actually, let's do test index. And I'm going to just ask code to, let's see, what should I say to do? Make me a quick application that shows a high ch or a apex charts um, dashboard. So I could do this. I could create an index.html file that will do it, but this is not, whatever this results in is not ready for FileMaker at all. It's not ready for FileMaker at all because it's not going to be, it might be it's one file, it's not many files, but it's going to have a bunch of stuff that is just not going to work in the calculation engine. This is probably a bad example because it's going to take too long. Actually, let's see. Yeah, we'll allow in this session. All right, that was pretty fast. So whatever all this is, that's perfect. We'll save it. Blah, 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 blah. Yep, great, keep. So let's save it, and then I'll just open it up in a browser. Let's see, let's open up that file in my browser. Open with Chrome. Okay, beautiful. That is absolutely stunning. And it made it in seconds. Doesn't have any of my data. And
it's full of lies.
it's what?
It's full of lies.
Total revenue. Wow. That's great. Yeah. 14,000 active users. But there's a ton of stuff that this would not fit directly inside of a field of a web viewer, mainly because all of these double quotes, right? I guess I could ask it to do that, but still that's extra work that it would have to do where the product that I have, the environment that I have is set up perfectly for this. So if I were to stuff this into a web viewer, it would choke. Let's just do that. And we all did this before. We all have tried to put HTML in here Does that work? Let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. Did it even paste in there? I mean, this is all wrong, isn't it? You all can tell this is all wrong, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Don't have a quote at the beginning. Okay, so I'll do that. Put that at the end. And now we are on our way to be working with this and changing the double
Did,
quotes to single quotes.
did you
Certainly,
know? Did you know you can do multiple tab indentation in the calculation dialog now?
did you? You can, can't
Yeah, you
you?
can select multiple lines and you can like tab them in.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
certainly I could get the AI to do it, but then I have to think about substituting my data in, and it just doesn't, it's actually becomes more work to take this data and put in a substitute. So that's why I developed the environment, and I still think that's the best way to go. So kidding. All right. I don't get on my soapbox much, but I do about this because I have developed every single way possible. Um, and it just doesn't, this is the best way. All right. So there's that. Have you all tried to develop outside of the development environment? Is it useful? How did you do that to make it work?
Yeah, I used to, I mean, back in the day, doing substitutes, having a basic DOM sat in the calculation, and then having substitutes for CSS and JS. I'm sure we've all done that. And I remember trying to figure out the best way that gave me the most flexibility and all of that. But yeah, I'm a convert to the dev environment now. Yeah, you've got all the power, haven't you, with this?
You really do. You really do. Gabe, did you come up with your thingy before I had put this out there? Did you know what, did you?
Probably, yeah. I think when I first started, because I think the first main web viewer implementation I'd done in my system was like a full calendar thing,
Uh-huh.
which was probably quite a number of years ago. So I'd done that, yeah, the old fashioned way with substitutions and bits and pieces and putting the code in and other bits and pieces like that. So yeah, and then I'd obviously moved to putting in text and global variables as a template and then doing other bits and pieces like that. I still use it in a few places where I did one recently actually. I had to do a barcode, like regular strippy barcode thing, and it needs to be on a printed layout. So I just found a little library that would do it, and then with a custom function for the content in the web viewer where it just puts in the string inside of there. And obviously, when you're printing across stickers on a layout or whatever, having to do, you know, set web viewer content, whereas if it's just a self-booting thing, so it's a little custom function that has a thing in there. So there's still occasionally uses for that, but it's pretty fairly niche.
Yeah, I'll be honest, even those simple things, I would still use this whole thing because it's really quick to set up and it just doesn't, it just doesn't, it's not much of a lift to have to use this thing. But yeah, that's perfectly fine to do it that way. You all remember we used to write it like this, and you were talking about this, Lee, is having to do those substitutions, and this worked, but you didn't get any of the cool abilities that a web viewer has. So that's worth knowing. And again, the last point about this, with this environment, I can set up the ability to have separate files for my different concerns. I can have utility functions in different files. I can have data in different files. I can have components in different files, and it just all compiles to one. So anyway, all right. So I didn't mean to go off on that, but I'm pushing back on yeah, I don't know. This is still the most efficient way until AI takes over. But by then, it's going to take over all of our jobs anyway, so it won't matter how we code, but we're not there yet. So